Howdy everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have the bug safely tucked back there in the corner so I can get my van in the garage, and I've got some tires and wheels behind it waiting to going to go down and mount them at a friend of mine's house, or a friend of mine's place, for the new Safari. But in the meantime, there's not too much I can do to the Beetle. I'm working on electrics right now, so I'm waiting on electrical parts and switches and such. And I can't run any fuel line because I'm waiting on clamps, and waiting on this and waiting on that. And I'm waiting on Danny to get done with his project car so he can come over and finish buffing it. He can finish buffing it, I can put the fenders on and all that other good jazz. But for in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there's two projects I want to work on. I want to work on the speedometer, and I want to work on the window regulators to have them up and running. So every little piece, you work on every little piece, and then it's done. You know how that works. Okay, the first Garfon I want to narfle is going to be this speedometer, because it's going to be the worst. There's a gentleman down in Texas who has several of these, and I think he only wants $85 a piece for them, which is reasonable for an original VW speedometer. Now, there's a couple of different speedometers depending on what kind of vehicle you own, and it's a good idea to get the right one. This came out of the 69 that I have, and I had cleaned up the cable and I had greased it really good, and you can see it dances up and down, so it works. But that's the wrong speedometer. If you look at this, it has a 90-mile-an-hour clock. Okay, so that denotes a 1500cc engine. Now this is Beetles. Okay, so type 2, type 3, anybody guess. But 90 miles an hour denotes 1500cc, and until they went to the dual port engine, and the dual port engine had a 100-mile-an-hour speedometer. Quite optimistic, huh? This is a 90-mile-an-hour speedometer also, and they made these through, when they come out with a new engine, 63-ish, 4, don't get me lying. It was called the 1300, and in 67 it got the 311 jugs and liners, or liners and pistons rather, cylinders and pistons. They had 311 part numbers on them because they were 1500cc, 1497, whatever it was, 1487, 1500cc. So it got a 90-mile-an-hour speedometer. So the 13 and the 1500cc engines have the 90-mile-an-hour speedometer. The 12 and back have 80-mile-an-hour speedometers. This particular clock here has I keep calling them clocks. That's just me. I always call it on the clock. Okay, anyways. 64,000 miles on the clock. Okay. It has a fuel gauge in it, and of course the 67 on back had a mechanical fuel gauge, and if you see it has ATF light, that means automatic transmission fluid, and it also had a light for the rear window defroster. So mine doesn't have any of those. The only thing it has is a high beam, low beam, turn signal, and oil generator, and it has a illumination light that goes in the back.
The humor in this, that because I have a motorhome, I don't have any square drive sockets.
Abner had taken this one and submerged it in a bucket of water because that's good for speedometers, I believe.
You lose them all,
and so it froze up. If you see this one dancing, this one does not. I hooked the speedometer cable to it and I can't get it to turn. So let's see what I can do before I have to go and shell out 85 bones to the gentleman down in Garland. Alright, let's have a look at this. Put this on there. There you go. Hey, look at that. Kind of winds it up. Let's see what you got here. No. Maybe I don't have it in there quite the way it's supposed to go. This is the original VW cable, and it is marked VW. So I thought I would just grease it, put it back into service, and not buy another one. Because the one I'm going to get is probably crappier than this one. Let's wind this up on this and see what happens. Let's see if we can snap this cable in half. I bet we can. Hear that? I wonder if the odometer's clicking over. Sounds like it's turning the odometer, but the odometer isn't turning. So, of course, we're going to have to operate. We're going to have to operate, Doctor. All right. Abner, it looks like Abner's taken the screws out of the back of this and sold them on eBay. So I wonder if we got some screws for the back of this. Here's a pair of screws on the back of this one that we're not going to use. There's a lot of light bulbs too. So yeah. We didn't get that for nothing, did we? We're probably going to have to take these out anyways to separate it from, to lift and separate and cross years off its life, to separate the interior from the exterior. Does that make sense? No? Okay. Let's see if these fit. Well, they do indeed fit. Look at that. So we're going to swipe these, and we'll tell no one. If you look at the back of my speedometer, it says 10 of 66. And that's correct. So I would like to try to fix this. Well, what's wrong with it, you say? Well, Abner's got it in water, so the inside of the bezels is all cheesed up. The face needs cleaning, and it sounds like the odometer isn't running around. So if we can make that work, the chrome and stuff should clean up. Let's see if we can get this off without breaking this. And even if we do break it, we have another one. And even if this one doesn't fit, well, I know somebody who can cut glass. So yeah, there you go. Shouldn't be too bad. If they put it together, by God, I can take it apart. Let me show you what I'm doing. See this little lip right here? I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me get my fat head in the way. Move this back just a tick. And what I'm doing is I'm giving it a little what fur with a screwdriver. Kind of bend off the side. You can tell it's never been off before. So we're going to work around this. Like this. Yeah. There we go. So let's work around that, and then we should be able to pry that cap off there. even if I was to not take this apart and was to just swab that inside, it would probably be better than it was before. But it is really dirty and greasy. We're going to set this aside. It looks like the face is starting to flake a little bit. The paint is a little bit right here. We might be able to touch that up a little bit. But I'm more, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect, but I'm more of the mind that it's the original one. I really like the idea of having that date in the back. That seems to be okay. Let's take our screws back out again. Excuse me. What's this? Don't belong there. I'm looking where that screw goes and I'm like, oh, it's not for this. I'm waiting for this thing to go flying out of my hands. I think probably just a slight little careful pry with our fingers. My brother was telling me that he had put one of these together and broke the bezel, the lens. And then he went to go install another lens in it, and he installed the lens in the same one he took the lens out of. Oh, Brian, I've done that before. What's keeping us? Okay, let me study this a little bit more, and I'll see what's keeping us. It might be that light in the back, but I doubt it. This is brass, so don't squeeze it too hard. That's funny. Well, it's like our original Volkswagen cable is all done. Yeah. That's great. Okay, we'll have to buy another cable. But let me strip this off here, and let me strip this off here, and we'll get to a new piece of cable. That's humorous right there. Okay, once again, one more time. See that moving, yeah? Let's go 100 miles an hour. So that's how fast the train's going that's passing us by right now. my big head out of the way. Oh, those aren't tenths, those are miles. 5 miles. Hey, let's bring her down to 60 miles an hour and we'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, yeah, about right. Okay. Now, since we run that a couple of miles and it's not clicking, I think we should be good. So, what we're going to do now is we'll clean it up. And that face, we'll have to be very careful with it. We're going to have to use the doctor's attitude of do no damage. Do no harm first. So there's some bubbled spots on there and stuff, but I don't know if I want to pick at those because I know it'll happen. So I might just clean it up the best way I can, maybe brush a little black on the bottom and clean up the bezel and put it together and call it good. Because I sprayed this liberally with lubricant, you know, all the spots I sprayed are going to be sticky, greasy. So I'm spraying a little sprayway into that, and I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to try to clean my odometer the best way I can. And get in here. Try to clean these numbers best way I can. Clean all the grease off of them. The lubricant off of them, I should say. So I can't get that back down in there. Best way you know how, you know, there's guys that do this that are professionals and they're perfect. And I don't know that I care about perfect. I just want something that's going to perform for a little while. And I'll be able to read it. And important to me is it's original. Like that. That broke off, is it? No? Okay. So I'm going to do the best I can, clean these up. And then I'm going to take a dauber and do the best I can, clean this face. And I'm going to be extra gentle down here because it looks like it got something on it that started taking the paint off. Incidentally, there wasn't anything holding this from coming out. It just needed a good little shove, and it came out okay. Imagine you could take this dial off by taking these little screws out. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to clean this up.
Now, if you notice something about this face, it's missing the little gel underneath here. And we're going to have to find something that's going to work there. And I think that we're going to want, what is it? Is it green for the turn signals? I imagine the turn signals would be green, so the center one would be green. And then the oil light would be red, and the generator light, I think, is green. Unless you have a new one and then the generator and the oil light are both red. I can't quite remember. I'll have to get online and look at some. You can see that felt that came off of there. And then we'll try to clean that up a little bit. So you get the idea of cleaning that up. We're going to clean that up, be gentle with it. And I'm going to clean the bezel inside here also. A lot of filth on that. And we can get right. I'm not going to take this apart. I'm just going to get up there with a Q-tip and clean that like that. Oops. I don't know if you can see that or not. So I'm going to clean these. And then we're going to revisit, okay? So clean your stuff up and I'll come back to you. Okay, like the fool I am, I couldn't leave well enough alone. I had to come completely apart. So I took the glass out of it, and I'm taking a little steel wool and doing a number to this, to the bezel. Cleaning it up. It ought to clean up pretty good. When I took the glass out, I was thinking I would be met with a, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. With a piece of circus glass, but it isn't. It's a genuine piece of 1/8 inch double strength glass. I'm quite impressed. I'm very impressed. I don't know if this is Volkswagen's nod to Jaguar or not, but the gasket that holds it in is 3 portions, like an old Jaguar windshield. How about that? Yeah. Circus is used to be. I used to call it circus glass because you go to the circus and you throw 3 balls at the milk bottles and knock them over, and then you get a picture of a I don't know, whatever, framed. And when you got it home, the glass was so thin that if you looked at it, it would break. It was thinner than single strength glass. So, anyways, we're going to clean all this stuff up and knock all this gook off of it. I'm probably, since this little bezel right here looks just perfect, I'm probably just going to clean it and walk away. So let's do that. We'll clean everything and then we'll put it all back together. Since I'm narfling that Garfon, I might as well narfle this one as well. This trim ring here, if you can see, is slightly bigger. This came out of the 69 dude. And this here is the one that come out of the 67. So it's probably, nah, it wouldn't be. It'd be 60 whatever, 1 on up, whatever. And as a special extra bonus, I spilled some red base coat on it to make it even more difficult to clean up. All right, that's great. So we're going to clean this as well. I've taken a Q-tip and peeled the top off of it. Got a little black paint in there from a spray can. It's gloss. It probably should be flat. And I'm going to just gingerly touch that. Try to make that 0 a little better. I know this is probably not going to look perfect. But it's okay with me. See if I can make that 10 a little better. Well, that's not too bad. Okay. I might touch that again and put 2 coats on it. But it's not too bad. It's pretty clean. Just for giggles, I run this on the wire brush, and then I shot it with some chrome paint, which actually I thought it was going to look hideous, but it's fairly close to what it was originally. I didn't care about the color so much as keeping it protected, so little rust preventative there. Don't be afraid to get a clean razor blade, a new razor blade on that, and scrape that off there. A new razor blade that hasn't lost its coating. Get yourself a piece of 400, 320 or something like that. Go around the edges of this and seam it. There wasn't any seam on it, and so I put a little seam on it, and what that does, it keeps you from getting raked, and then also it strengthens the glass. Well, how does that strengthen the glass? Well, the crack comes from the edge, so if there's a seam on it, it's less likely to, make sure your lens is nice and clean. Now, the first thing that goes in there is this little ring. It's like a smaller ring than this one right here. And that goes in there, like that. And then this sits right in the center of this whole mess. Kind of. Let's see if I can't break it. Well, fidget around with it. Don't get it in a bind. I'll tell you that. Don't get your glass in a bind. Let me look at this carefully. This bezel wasn't exactly round, perfectly round, so I had to move the glass around. Got a lot of fingerprints on it, so I want to wash it again. Get as many of my prints off of it as I can. And then, I guess that's on the outside. As a nod to Jaguar, the 3-piece gasket goes in place just like that. Just like that. Then this cheer goes over the top. But I'm going to want to clean this first. I didn't clean this piece first. We'll clean this really quick and we'll snap that in place, and then we'll be done with that. Okay, in typical Abner fashion, Abner had taken this off of the original speedometer. So I took it off of the speedometer that I had, the one I got from the 69. Same thing. Okay, and what this is, it holds the lights for the turn signal and the generator and the oil light, and like that. And then the lights go up underneath it. It's got a little ground strap. Anyways, in true to form fashion, Abner had to take everything apart, and so he took this off the back of the speedometer so he could sell it on eBay or something. So these are the original ones that were inside this car, and I'm going to use it as reference. As you notice, the green's on the left. Green is the generator, red is the oil pressure light, and the one in the center would be green as well for the turn signal. This one is a little bit more supple, come out of the 69 dude. These cost me $1.58 at Walmart. So essentially what I did is I went down to Walmart and I bought a pack of these little folders in their office supply deal, and there's a little green cellophane and a little red cellophane. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut that red cellophane and we're going to put it in there, and we're going to green, and yeah, there you go. So this is where your artistic deal has to come in. If you cut them a little bigger and you trace them, they will fit in that little lip. See, there's a little lip there. So it's going to take some dexterity and some gingerness in order to get those in there, but I'll get those in there next. Well, it was real and it was fun, but it wasn't real fun. I secured it in the back with a little bit of 3M trim adhesive and a toothpick. If you have a newer Beetle, you would have a red light over here, so you'd want a red one. But if you have an old one, the generator light is green. These are slightly lighter than the others, but they will suffice. I'm okay with it because I don't have to pay $85 for another. Yeah, there you go. Okay, let's put this all together. One more thing I want to cover before we put this together is test out your lights to make sure they work. Run your lights for a minute and then shut them off and try it again. Because sometimes these old bulbs, they lose their Jones, their vacuum, and they'll burn out because they have to have a vacuum in there, and so they have a vacuum. By some kind of bizarre circumstance or some kind of alignment of the moon and the stars and such, my speedometer requires 5 of these little spade lights, and through Abner's parts and through the picked Volkswagen and the one that was actually still in the speedometer, I have 5. So test your lights and make sure. Give them a good burn, because the last thing you want to do is yank them back out again. I even have two spares. I even have 2 spares. How about that? What do you know? Okay, I've put on some gloves to try to keep things as clean as I could. The little pipe is kind of a struggle. Be careful of that little pipe. Mine was out in the backyard. Yeah, don't know how it got there. I think it's because I took this outside to let it set in the sun after I painted the face. I mixed up some other paint and touched the tin with a toothbrush, so it's not toothbrush, toothpick, and so it wasn't so bad. It doesn't look terrible. The face is a little cheesed up on it, but it's the original speedometer and it works, and I'm happy with that. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to grease it. Take it back apart. Take yourself a little bit of grease, and right where this little, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some grease in there. See if I can't pack a little bit of grease in there. Doesn't need to be a lot. I'm going to put a little grease on this too. Right there. And then I'm going to put a little grease up here also. Not a lot. Just a little bit. Now, you know, this is where it's important to have a good seal on your trunk. And because all this grease picks up dirt. And if you don't have a good seal on your trunk, then all the dirt and crap blows up underneath there. So make sure you have a good seal on your trunk. Talk about that too with your doors when we grease up those regulators. Alright, let's try this again. Another train brought to you by BNSF. Okay, let me monkey around with that a little more and see if I can't get it in place. I haven't already. Alright, give me a minute. There's a gap up here at the top. Don't worry about that. It's supposed to be like that. Your screws will fit in the holes. Such. I put on a pair of gloves to keep everything as clean as I could. If you wonder about the train going by, I live about a mile from the tracks, or half a mile, and we're at the crossroads of America, you know. So every train that's going north and south comes past my house. So lots of trains mean lots of commerce, and that's what you want to see, is lots of commerce. You know that. Uh-oh, we got a little black spot here. Is this on the outside or the inside? Ooh, the inside. Oh, and it just smeared all over the place. Let's give this just a little bit more of a what for. Quickie, as it were. Get that dried all up. Now there's two little edges, one there and one there, and we have to match them and press this whole thing back over here again. See if I can do that. Probably not. There she is. Okay. There you go. Now, one more thing left. Let's take this little tender thing and we're going to push it in here. No, we're not. So what we're going to need to do is take this back off and put it down in there and then push this down into it. And looks like we've got room for a couple of screws, so I'm going to use screws to put this back together. Back to you in a second. Okay, there she is. Of course, this ring is going to be, the tabs will be folded over, so this will mount up right up against there like this, so you'll be able to read as it goes in the dash. This goes up behind the dash. That's not too bad, is it? I'm satisfied with that. Got some got a oil light and a generator light, or the oil light's green, I think. I think the oil light's green, generator light's red. Can't remember. We have 5 lights in there. The thing works. 5 lights, 2 through 5. We have it's a correct VW speedometer, and it is got a Volkswagen part number and a Volkswagen stamp, and it is marked 10 of 66. So this is the correct speedometer for the car. There you go. Alright, let's get at those regulators now. Alright, I have a window regulator here for a 67 Beetle. And if you turn it over, you see it has this sliding deal that goes through and it winds up here. And there's a plate here and a plate here, and that attaches to the glass and it rolls up and down. What you want to do is you can use this lubricant here to break it loose, you know, to get it kind of moving, and you can spray your turner deal, because this gets way down in there. But the deal is with the WD-40 or this lubricant here, it doesn't provide much lubrication. Okay, what you really want is you want some grease. Lithium works really well. You can use this Remy oil too to do that with. But lithium works really well, and so does wheel bearing grease. But the whole deal is you need to get these things working before you put them in your door, because there's nothing more frustrating than a window regulator that doesn't want to roll up and down. And you can take your electric drill like this, and you can give it electric windows, kind of like this. It's a little fast. Be gentle with it, because it's that old grandmother. She is 50 years old. All right. Now, once you get it working like that, broken loose with some lubricant, shoot it with the lithium. And this little spring thing here seems to have some kind of material in it, and it seems to catch all the grease and stuff. If you don't have proper seals on your doors, the little lips for your windows, the belt moldings, you got outer and inner belt moldings, and you don't have a moisture barrier, and you don't have all the things on it, what it'll do is when you grease this, it will catch a lot of debris, and you don't want dirt in here. You want it to work smoothly, as smooth as you can. Boy, I'd almost want to mount some electric drills on my windows. To run those, that'd be nice to have electric windows. Yeah, to run that up and down several times like that. I don't believe this is 67 only. I think 66 had this also. But I think you could use, it has to do with the track on the bottom of the glass is what it has to do with, because the newer models only have one attachment point, and these have two, with a little fulcrum that bends back and forth. Now, when you go to put your door glass in, the little fulcrum that moves back and forth, make sure that's greased really well too. Now, I'm going to get right up in there with some of that. And you can't have these greasy enough. You just can't. You can't get enough grease into these. I've seen several of these that they just struggle, and people just struggle to get the windows up and down. and it shouldn't be that way. It should be relatively easy. As long as the glass goes up and down in the channel, you know, you have a little felt channel on the front and the back, and as long as there isn't any friction there, you know, and your regulator works good, it should be all right. I did this to my, what I'm doing right here, I did this to my 70 Beetle, and I owned it for 8 years, and I never did anything to the doors. The windows always rolled up and down just as like a breeze, because I had everything just soaked with grease. Anyways, that's what you want. And then when you get them done, we're going to put them in a bag, like a garbage bag. And that way won't get any weld grit or any sanding grit or anything like that, and they'll be ready to go back in the doors. You can wash these all out if you want to. Wash them out with kerosene, clean them all out. I'm not that big into that. Usually when you wash them, you like wash everything away. So yeah, I just grease it and go on. Volkswagen parts are famous for their durability, and usually they can be repaired, greased, sanded, you know, cleaned up, and they work. So there you go. Let's put these in a bag when I get done. Okay, so I put them in garbage bags and just kind of hung them up on that bicycle, and they're all greasy and everything. I just ran my hands all over every piece of metal with grease on it, so you know they'll last another 50 years. Okay, guys. You know, my whole premise on this is don't let a day go by where you don't do anything. Don't sit in front of the TV, because it doesn't get anything done. You know, I mean, you can, but a lot of people spend a lot of time in front of that television. You know, you can be more productive than that. And even when you're at an impasse, I'm waiting for a buffer, I'm waiting for parts, I'm waiting for this, I'm waiting for that, there's always something to be done. That's the whole premise here. So, alright guys, I'm going to get this on the net, and thanks for wrenching with me. Like and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.